Good morning, beautiful people. Justin here. Going to do another devotional today um, about how God uses the sinner. That's me. I'm the sinner. You're the sinner. We're all the sinners. Um, we're going to go through a couple different books in the Bible, a couple key verses, and check that out. And I'll do a little speaking on some of the stuff that I read. We're going to start with the Beatitudes, which is in Matthew 5, verses 3 through 12. I'm going to go ahead and start reading these. If you want to pause and look it up on in your Bible or just follow along with me, you're more than welcome to do that. The Beatitudes. God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for Him, for the kingdom of heaven is there. God blesses those who mourn, for they will be comforted. God blesses those who are humble, for they will inherit the whole earth. God blesses those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be satisfied. God blesses those who are merciful, for they will be shown mercy. God blesses those whose hearts are pure, for they will see God. God blesses those who work for peace, for they will be called the children of God. God blesses those who are persecuted for doing right, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. God blesses you when people mock you and persecute you and lie about you and say all sorts of evil things against you because you are a follower of God. Be happy about it. Be happy about it. Be very glad, for a great reward awaits you in heaven. And remember, the ancient prophets were persecuted in the same way. I love the Beatitudes. They always lift my spirits when I read them. And, some of the stuff that sticks out to me is about being persecuted. It's not easy to be a Christian nowadays. We're getting it, we're getting hit on all sides. It's not cool. It's we have stuff on TV, super secular. We have stuff in music. It's not the cool thing to do anymore to be a Christian. You're kind of an oddball. It seems like a lot of times. Everything tells us, if you want to be happy, just go to the doctor. You can have this pill make you happy. Drink this beer. All your worries will be gone. You don't have to stress anymore. We got Xanax for that. But it tells us, when you're persecuted, be happy. Be happy, because when you're doing the right thing for God, there's gonna be temptation. There's gonna be things coming after you. Whenever you start really turning yourself over to God, the devil's gonna try twice as hard to come after you. And once you leave that sinful nature, we'll never be free of the temptation, but we can be free of our sinful ways through the power of Christ. He paid the ultimate price on the cross for us out of love, so that we could spend eternal life with Him, and He freed us from our sorrows. He freed us from our pain and our suffering, and at our ultimate goal, it says here, a great reward awaits us in heaven, and that's amazing. To live a life like maybe I've lived, and still be loved, to be given just unconditional love from God. Even when I was straight, I was a prodigal child. Growing up, my dad always preached on the prodigal son, and I didn't know how true that would ring out in my life over the years. And I was definitely the prodigal child of the family. I strayed, I used, I lied, I cheated, and by God's grace was given another opportunity to make things right and to truly follow Him. And I don't regret, my life. I can't regret it, because it makes everything that goes on in my life now more meaningful. It really drives home just how great God is, and how even a sinner like me can find His love in my darkest time. Next, we're going to go to Isaiah. This is going to tell us a little bit about, God's history with us. And how he's always there for us. Now I'm going to go into Isaiah 46, verses 3 through 5. It starts about halfway through verse 3. It says, I have cared for you since you were born. Yes, I carried you before you were born. I'll be your God throughout your lifetime, until your hair is white with age. I made you, and I will care for you. I will carry you along and save you. This just blows my mind. My parents, I can imagine them loving me even when I was in the womb, planning out my life, what I might be like, what I might do with my life. I don't imagine that they figured that I would do what I ended up doing, but they were always there for me every step of the way. Even in my darkest time, God was trying to work in my heart and trying to show me that he loved me through all of that, and that he was there if I just called out to him. Even before we were born, God loved us, and he had a plan for us. And given our free will, it's our choice to follow him or not. And when you follow him, it's amazing how much your life can change and how much love you can actually witness through him when he's standing there with you the entire time. It's mind-blowing to me. But that really kind of cuts me deep, even in my worst time when I was acting like a fool, God was there carrying me along. And even in my scariest times, the times when I didn't know if I'd survive, or maybe when something really, detrimental happened to me, he was there carrying me along. As that old thing goes, there's people walking on the beach, or there's someone walking on the beach with God, and they see the footprints in the sand, and there's two footprints and two sets of footprints, and then they see spots, where there's only one set of footprints, and they ask God, what's up with only the one set of footprints here? And he says, that's when I carried you, and that's powerful, so next we're going to go on to into Mark. We're going to go to chapter 12. This is Mark 12, verse 10 and 11. And it talks about the stone that the builders rejected. The stone the builders rejected has now become the cornerstone. That is the Lord's doing, and it's wonderful to see. Now, this talks about multiple things. This is Jesus becoming the cornerstone of the church, but it's also relevant to our life as sinners, because we were the rejected few for a while. We were sinners. We lived in the world. We lived in what we wanted to do. But once people see, and once you get that love of God in you, and that will to serve him and follow him, it really, you're unstoppable. And the cornerstone of the church was what it was built around. It's the strongest point. It carries the weight of the church. And Jesus carries the weight of your life. But when you have God in you, you have the power of God in you, and you become as strong as you ever thought possible. Through Christ, you can do anything. And that really, I love that verse about becoming the cornerstone. After being the stone that was rejected. So an imperfect stone, maybe had rough edges. A lot of our lives, people would say we're rough around the edges. And we became the focal point in God's eyes. So that's just really beautiful to me, and it really shows God's compassion. Now, another thing, this is my favorite verse in the Bible. I touched on it on, some other videos. This is Mark 2:17, my favorite verse. It says, when Jesus heard this, he told them, healthy people don't need a doctor, sick people do. I've come to call not those who think they are righteous, but those who know they are sinners. And I know I'm a sinner. There is no question about that. I lived in sin. I ate, drank, breathed sin for a long time, smoked sin, you know. uh, and for God to take a sinner like me and put me in a place where I can help other people, where I'm able to worship Him freely, where I'm able to give back what I've been given, is probably the best gift I've ever been able to receive. As a sinner living in sin, that gives us power over that disease. So we're able to help people from similar situations. It broadens our group of people that we can witness to because we've lived the worst life possible that we could live. Um, it's easier to talk to people that are lost when you've gone through something like that, like they have, and when they see you living in the change, living in the gospel, being a light for Christ, it makes it easier for them to want to get what you have. So it makes you be able to relate to people better, and I'm not saying that you have to be a drug addict to witness to a drug addict. I'm just saying, but when I was lost, I would not have listened to a deacon. It took someone with um, racist tattoos, that had completely changed their life, and that was evident to me to get me back in the scripture. So sometimes it's the oddest stories. We are the chosen few. We have been given life from literal death. I have been on death's doorstep before, and it's definitely not fun. But that makes me more willing and makes me want to share the life that I've been given. Every day is a gift to me now. And I want to use that to serve the God who saved me. Now this last verse we're going to go to, it's in Matthew. It's in Matthew 10. It's a couple verses. We're going to start in verse 38. It says, "If you refuse to take up your cross and follow me, you're not worthy of being mine. If you cling to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for me, you will find it." And that is the definition of my life. I clung to my life. I thought I was Mr. Fix-It. I thought I could do everything. Any problem that came up, I had a solution in my brain. And it was crazy. Every solution I tried never worked. But in my hazy state, I always thought that I could work my way out of everything. And I came to realize that was just not true. When I gave up my life to God, that's when I really started to find everything. And that's almost word for word what it says in here. If you give up your life for me, you will find it. And I did not even understand real living until that took place. And that's just a blessing in itself. Now, this last verse I'm going to read is verse 42 in the same book. It says, "And if you give even a cup of cold water to one of the least of my followers, you will surely be rewarded." Now, that's, pretty opposite to what it was just saying. If you give up your life, you'll find it. But that's talking about after we've found our salvation, after we've found God. It's our job to give back to those who are lost. It's our job to spread the gospel, go and make disciples of all people. And that's not, all people that might seem nice, all people that dress nice, have nice cars, show up to church on Sunday. That's the person at the bar falling over drunk. That's the person nodding out on heroin. That's the person, who's living a life of falling into sexual desires. That's anybody, I can't put a face, to a name when it comes to sin. All sins are equal in God's sight, and all people are loved by God. So it doesn't matter what their affliction is. You have a duty as a follower of Christ to try to witness to them, and don't be scared away just because of their, how they look, how they act. Because some people like me that used to argue against the Bible, that used to that just absolutely tell you were wrong, might become some of the people that are the biggest advocates for Christ. And I'm gonna leave y'all with that today. I'll be back on maybe tomorrow, maybe next week to do another Bible study. God bless y'all. Y'all have a great week, and I love you all.